Welcome back to the Marketing Mindset. We're excited to have you back here. Every week we talk about different topics related to marketing that we think are interesting to you. This week we wanted to talk about marketing to different personality types. And on the blog this week we wrote a post about the 4 A's of marketing to different personality types. And before we get into that, I want to talk a little bit about past marketing mindsets. So we've talked about marketing tools, and we've done the perfect marketing brief, which you can actually download from our blog archives section of the site. We talked about measurement, agency-client relationship, creativity and inspiration, building great teams, empathy in marketing, using brand voice and tone and finding your brand voice, why big brands are choosing small agencies. I still love that post. It was a rebroadcast or repost of a friend of mine who runs a digital agency or a full-service agency in North Carolina. Simplicity in marketing, telling a great story, and then we did our Marketer's Breakfast, which was all about creativity in the workplace, and so we talked about that in the last Marketing Mindset. And so, again, today we're going to talk about marketing to different personalities. If you want to see any of those past Marketing Mindset posts, you can always go to youtube.com/AgencySparks. Or you can go to our website, and there's a marketing mindset section of the site where you can see past episodes. So just to set up the conversation and frame this a little bit, there are 7 billion people here on Earth, and of course no two people are exactly the same. And depending on where they were raised or their personal experiences and other factors in their lives, they all have different behaviors and personalities. It is impossible to categorize people fully because we're very complex, unique individuals, but there are a couple of similarities, and so we tried to kind of narrow them down into 4 personality groups, and because we're marketers, they all ended up being A's, because we thought that was more clever. But anyway, we segment people by personality, can be helpful and useful, and that way you can start to understand some of the customer tendencies and how to reach them and be more receptive to your campaign. So obviously the first step is really knowing your audience and creating engaging content for them and making all of the interactions you have with them really purposeful. This is not Myers-Briggs. This is not the DISC assessment. This is the 4 A's that we've come up with to talk about the different personality types. And we've defined them as amiable, attentive, analytical, and assertive. And I'll go into a little more detail about the 4 types. So assertive people are very goal-oriented, they're competitive, they value results over relationships, and they're very decisive, and they work quickly, they're professional, they're efficient, they're type A personalities. You probably know a lot of assertives in your own organization. They're independent and direct, and they're very deadline-driven. If you're marketing to an assertive personality type, you want to make sure you show them the company's benefits as compared to a competitor. Because of their competitive nature, they may see the comparison of your offering to a competitive offering. You want to show them that you're prepared, that you're professional. It needs to be a very quick and simple pitch, and when you're winning them over, you have to get to the point quickly. If you want to think of kind of celebrities or famous people that are often considered assertives, you can think of Mark Zuckerberg or Michael Phelps, the Olympic athlete swimmer. They're very competitive, assertive types. The attentive personality type, this person is very relationship focused. They're sympathetic, they care for others, they're often creative and outgoing and sometimes spontaneous. They are kind of a mix of the amiables and the assertives, kind of in between the two. We'll talk about the amiables in a minute. They're expressive and very humanistic. They're selfless. They often put the needs of others in front of their own. They're friendly. They like routine, and they're clearly defined kind of expectations and rules. Often attentive folks are rule followers. They're supportive and they're patient. So think about that when we're marketing to the attentives. We need to show positive testimonials for the personal aspect. We need to show studies to give them facts and research. And since they're can be resistant to change, we need to focus on the positive features of the product. And if you want to think of some celebrities that may be attentive types of personalities, Oprah Winfrey is definitely an attentive type. Ellen DeGeneres. They're humanists who really care for the well-being of others. The third personality type that I alluded to just a minute ago are the amiables. The amiables value relationships and trust. They get a thrill from a new challenge. They like advice and guidance throughout a buying process. So remember that, keep that in mind. They can be less structured. They're often great listeners. They're friendly, they're calm, they're patient. They're sort of that type B personality versus the type A we talked about earlier. They have creative, they're kind of imaginative people, they're social, and they're easygoing. So when you're wanting to sell to the amiables, they lose interest quickly, so you have to be exciting and spontaneous. You want to avoid having too much detail, and you want to have easy to follow blogs and videos. Some famous attentives famous amiables would be Walt Disney, Jim Carrey, Robin Williams. Those are examples. They're happy, kind of go-lucky people. The analytical folks love data. They love facts and figures. They basically want detailed answers to their questions. They have a hard set of deadlines. They're slow and well thought out decision makers. They're very logical and cautious and very thorough in their research. Serious and direct and formal. They're not as expressive, but they crave information. And so if you can provide that, that's important. So how do you sell to the analytical types? Numbers, 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 backed up by research, statistical results, and taking time to answer all their questions thoroughly and offer additional resources for them to learn more about your product or your service. And if you want to think of examples of some famous analyticals, there's Albert Einstein, and also C-3PO for Star Wars, you Star Wars geeks out there. Very analytical. One other point I want to make with these 4 different personality types, really, as we mentioned, nobody can be put into a box. And there are some ways that you can kind of combine some of your marketing efforts to pair together some personality types to market to them. And so I want to give you a couple examples, or 3 examples of some of the combinations that could work. Both the assertives and the attentives are results focused and appreciate a lot of details. The attentives and the amiables are also very relationship focused, and they're creative and they're social people. So maybe come up with something more creative and people focused for them. And then the analyticals and the assertives are both results focused. So numbers and data could help support your argument. And they also are kind of medium paced in terms of the pace of their research. So hopefully this gives you a good quick overview of the different personality types and the 4 A's. Again, the 4 A's are amiable, attentive, analytical, and assertive. And each of them has their different preferences, but you can also pair them together in some clever ways. That's about it for this week. Again, if there's anything on the marketing mindset you'd like to see in the future, please let us know. Happy to get your comments down below if you have any questions or anything for us. Again, you can go to youtube.com/AgencySparks, or you can go to AgencySparks.com/blog archives to see the blog post associated with this conversation. And also, we'll now have a link on our site where you can access past marketing mindsets. So thanks again for coming back, and looking forward to seeing you next week.